good. I'd like to call us to order, and there's an echo somewhere. Yeah, it's gone now. Good afternoon. Welcome to the July 27th, 2023 regular board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 1:58 p.m. and acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District is within the territory of the Sechelt and Squamish First Nations. So, the first order of business would be adoption of our amended agenda. Are there any more additions to the agenda? Hearing none, motion to accept it. I see, yes, it's been adopted. The motion's been made and seconded. We're good, Director Toth and Director Gabius. So then, now, if I, sorry? Oh, we need a vote. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? No, good. So we're up to item number 3, which is, item number 2, which is the regular board meeting minutes of July 12th, 2023, Annex A, pages 4 to 9. Any omissions or errors within the minutes? No, seeing none. Have a motion. Yes, Director White, seconded by Director Toth. Any discussions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? No, that one passes. Okay, so we're on to business arising from minutes. Any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business you'd like to raise, directors? No, having none. We will then move on to presentations and delegate, but we don't have any delegations. So this is really going good. We now will move on to reports, which is item 3 on our agenda. It's Committee of the Whole recommendations numbers 1 to 6 of July 13th, 2023, Annex B, pages 10 to 12. Before we adopt the recommendations in a block, would any of the directors like to pull any of the recommendations for separate consideration? No, hearing none. Can I have a motion to adopt? Director Gabius, seconded Director Inkster. Call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? No, that passes. So then we go on to item 4, which is Electrical Area Services Committee recommendations numbers 1 to 13 of July 20th, 2023, Annex C, pages 13 to 19. Before we adopt the recommendation in the block, would any directors like to pull any of the recommendations for separate? No? Can I have a motion then to adopt them? Director McMahon, seconded Director Gabius. Call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. So we're on to item 5. Finance Committee recommendations numbers 1 to 4 of July 20th, 2023, which is Annex D, pages 17 to 18. Before we adopt the recommendations in a block, would any directors like to pull any of the recommendations for separate consideration? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adopt? Director Bax, seconded by, Director Gabius. This thing's slow. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That will pass. So now we have item 5A, which has been added, and I need to find that sucker, or that item. Okay, it's late item number 5, A, which is pages 18A, and its recommendations 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to adopt those recommendations in a block. Would directors like to pull any for discussion? No, don't see any. Can I have a motion to adopt then, please? Director Gabius, seconded by somebody. Who's going to second it? Director Toth. Thank you. No further discussions. I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that passes. Oh, we're just ripping along here. We're on to item number 6 now, which is Sunshine Coast Regional Accessibility Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. Annex E, pages 19 to 27. And our corporate officer, would you introduce that for us, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this report is coming forward in response to requirements under the Accessible BC Act, which are compelling local governments to establish an accessibility advisory committee that will assist with the development of an accessibility plan for the regional district. The town of Gibson's had a head start on this work earlier this year, and they've successfully established an accessibility advisory committee for the town. Since then, there have been discussions amongst the local governments, including the District of Sechelt, the SCRD, as well as the town of Gibson's, to combine our efforts and expand the Gibson's-led committee in order to form a regional accessibility advisory committee to assist with the development of a plan for the entire Sunshine Coast. So as a first step, we're seeking board approval for a terms of reference that will formally establish a Sunshine Coast Regional Accessibility Advisory Committee. I'll just add that I believe these have already gone through Town of Gibson's Council and have been approved as draft. And I believe the District of Sechelt have also received them at Council. So once they're approved by all local governments, our board, and our board may wish to do this today, should appoint a regional district director as a liaison to committee as well as an alternate. Following that, the CAO will need to appoint a senior staff member to the committee, and then we will get together as a group and decide whether or not we need to do additional recruitment based on the current membership of the Gibson's-led committee. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yes, I was busy trying to get the notes. I might actually have to ask you again what we're supposed to do when we get there. So, Director Bax, I see you have a question.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is an awesome initiative. I like how the province is going to help us pay for any of the costs associated with this initiative. Is that so?
We're not aware of any funding that will assist us in this effort.
Oh, so we've been told to do this, but they're not going to give us any money to do it? Is that correct?
CAO?
I think if I was trying to read between the lines, I think this would be another example where a provincial requirement has been placed upon local governments throughout BC, and it's our obligation to ensure that these requirements are met.
I think that was your answer. Yes. Director McMahon, please.
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand the scope of the act. So does this put more accessibility requirements on local governments in terms of our facilities and services? And in the case of services such as transit, where perhaps we may not have room on a road for a bus stop, so we can't accommodate disabled passengers, would that put any responsibilities on, say, MOTI?
CAO, please.
I guess the short answer is yes. This will involve having to implement new measures to meet the requirements of this new act. Until we've done the assessment and done the pre-work, we don't fully know what the suite of ramifications that will be included overall, but this will have implications for every facility we have, every facility that's owned by any local government on the Sunshine Coast.
Thank you. Director White.
I just want to clarify too, we're working on one plan, now, correct, for the Sunshine Coast? Yeah, okay. I see nods. When this was even being considered at the town, and the town's accessibility committee was going, my main role was to let the provincial government know that we didn't have any money for it, because we don't. It's not in our budget. It's not in the SCRD budget either, I'm certain of that. So I was trying to identify sources of funding. Age-friendly communities funding is probably the best possibility I could find. The ministry actually suggested that we go to some funding that they'd allocated to Spark, but that's not for plans. It's all for implementation of plans, so it doesn't do any good. But age-friendly communities confirm that as long as there's an age-friendly component to it, they're willing to fund something like this. So I did pass that along to staff at the town of Gibson's, and I hope whatever staff is connected to this committee pursues that, because there's probably going to be a lot of competition for it. Now, considering that all local governments have to do this, and beyond, it's not just local governments; it's all agencies.
Thank you. Interesting. Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair. The District of Sechelt has seen this already. We've approved the terms of reference, and I'm the appointed volunteer from council. So, I didn't see the recommendation include, a delegate from the board, so I'm really glad that the corporate officer flagged that. It does make some references in here to September 1st being the deadline for accomplishing a lot of this, and obviously that's not realistic. And we've heard from our staff in Sechelt that there would be no implications to missing that deadline. So I just wanted to confirm that with regional district staff's understanding as well, that there is no implication to missing that September 1st deadline. Because if there is, then whoever volunteers doesn't get their summer break.
Yes, CAO, please.
This has been a topic that's been making the rounds of the 27 regional district CAOs over the last little while, and I think the general consensus is this is something where I think we're trying to demonstrate progress, not perfection at this point. And if local governments are seen to be making meaningful progress toward the provincial requirements, I think we feel like there's a pretty low risk that there'd be any adverse impacts.
Thank you. Director McMahon.
Yes, in the interest of making the meetings accessible, should they be required to be hybrid?
That would be our meetings? Yes. Okay. Corporate officer?
Yes, thank you for the question. I think that's something that the advisory committee will advise us on, but I would say that having hybrid meetings do make them more accessible for people in general.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions. So we need a motion to appoint some people to this Accessibility Advisory Committee. Is that correct?
Thank you, Chair. First, it would be ideal if you could adopt the terms of reference, and then, or consider them for adoption. And once that has happened, then we can turn our attention to actually implementing them by appointing a liaison. If the board is ready to make that appointment today, it does not have to be made in this meeting.
Thank you. I guess we'll do one thing at a time then. There's recommendations on page 19. Do we have a motion? Director McMahon?
I'll move the recommendations on page 19.
Is there a seconder? Yes, Director. Okay, we got it. Any more comments? Director McMahon, your hand is up, but no more comments? Okay, so it's time to hold the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? No, that passes. Can we get on with, see if we have a volunteer to go on that committee? The accessibility, anybody put up their hand? Director Gabius. So a motion for Director, yes, Director.
Second, perfect candidate.
Director White, and seconded by Director Inkster. Any discussions on that? No? All in favor? Any opposed? Passed. Director Gabby, yes it is. Now, Director McMahon, you have a question, please?
Yeah, if, do we need an alternate? That's one question. I would be willing to volunteer as the alternate. But will these meetings be open if other directors wish to attend any of the meetings? How does that work?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, the meetings are open to other directors and the public if they so choose to attend.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, Director White, to appoint Director McMahon as the alternate, and seconded by Director Toth. Any further discussions? No? Let's have a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Now, I understood we were one more appointment, but I didn't know what it was that we needed.
Not for board business, but the CAO will need to appoint a senior staff member in accordance with the terms of reference.
Okay, so he'll be doing that later and let us know who it is. Okay.
Should we receive all the reports and communications?
Okay. Motion to receive all the reports and communications. Director Inkster, Director McMahon. Any discussions? No? All in favor? Thank you. Now, where are we? We're on to item number 7, which is Connected Coast Network and Last Mile Infrastructure. Letter of support, CAO, you're going to introduce that. It's Annex F, pages 28.
Absolutely happy to, Chair. This is a fairly minor housekeeping item, I hope. If I put on my old funder's hat, often with these grant funding programs, the funders are looking for letters of support or resolutions that have very specific wording. At the time the board provided their initial approval in principle resolution of support, we thought we had covered off all of the information the funder required. We have since learned that we missed the provider and the term last mile in the letter of support. So while we can't go back and rescind the previous letter of support provided, if the board approves, we will draft a new letter for the funder's file. This would complete the file, but they've long since made the award and the funding announcement, but they would appreciate a letter of support on file that contains all the right words.
Director White? Have a seconder? Yes, Director Inkster? Okay, I'll call, oh, sorry. Director Stamford, did you have a comment?
Yes, I do. I just want to pause a minute, and we are getting a letter of recommendation to what seems to be a private company, and there is no other options that this whole program provided. City West is it. They're already on the islands doing their work, so I'm not entirely comfortable with the way this is played out, but I understand that it's part of the bigger Connect the Coast. The goal is good. It's the process that seems a little odd, as there are other potential providers out there, but they've never been considered. So don't want to hold this up. I know this will be good in the long run, but this is a little bit weird to me. Thank you.
Yes, perhaps the CAO can clarify that for us?
Yeah, happy to clarify. The original application was submitted by City West and the Connected Coast Partners, which are the Strathcona Regional District. So City West is also a funder of the project. So they were always mentioned in the original grant application. We just didn't realize they needed to be specified in our original letter of support. We referenced the Connected Coast project, not City West as the project implementation partner for last mile. But they were always part of the grant application.
Thank you. Any further comments before I call the question? No, I don't see any. Okay, let's vote on it. All in favor? Any opposed? No, that passes. Thank you. So we're now moving on to item number 8, which is water supply plan, feasibility study, long-term groundwater supply sources. It's Annex G, pages 29 to 30. Just flick that on there. Who would be talking to this? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Board Chair. This past May, a request for proposals was issued for consultant services to identify and drill up to 5 additional groundwater test wells along the Sunshine Coast. At the July 13th, 2023 board meeting, the board awarded a contract to Kawa Water Dynamics for the exploration and drilling of the 3 additional groundwater test wells to fit within the available allocated budget of $375,000. Also, at the same July meeting, the board requested staff to bring back an option to add up the 2 additional wells to be drilled, as the cost proposal to drill up the 5 wells exceeded available budget. Staff have investigated the funding options available to include the drilling of the 2 additional test wells, and have determined that additional monies can be utilized to fund the drilling of the 5 additional groundwater test wells in the amount up to $473,000. Staff recommends the contract with Kawa be amended to include drilling up to 5 additional test wells in the amount not to exceed $473,000. And I will be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do remember this going forward originally. So, Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to our staff for turning this around so quickly. It was only 2 weeks ago. This all makes perfect sense to me. I'm actually willing to move the recommendations on page 29 as they are.
Yes, Director McMahon had seconded that already, so that's done. Any further comments? No? I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? No? Thank you, that passes. Thank you very much. We're on to page 2 now. So it's item number 9, which is the Unified Alternate Approval Process Results. Annex H, pages 31 to 34. And I see our corporate officer is going to introduce this, please.
Thank you, Chair. The Unified Alternative Approval Process to seek elector approval for long-term borrowing for the Half Moon Bay Fire Rescue Apparatus and the Community Recreation Roof Renewal projects have concluded, and the results are in the report before you. Elector approval has been obtained in both processes since less than 10% of the eligible electors submitted forms to oppose the borrowing. The board may now proceed with adoption of both loan authorization bylaws, which have been brought forward and are on this agenda under items number 18 and 19.
So is there any further questions or from directors? We'll deal with the actual approval of it on when we get to 17 and 18 then. So this was an information item for us. Oh, well, that's easy. I don't need to vote on that. We already done it. If there's no questions, we shall move on then to placement of notice on title, which is item 10, Annex I, pages 35 to 37. Let's see, get down to there. There, found it. Yes, Chief Building Official, Mr. Kennett, please. Or is that Oh, sorry. Mr. Hall, GM Hall, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just by way of introduction, staff are bringing forward recommendations for placement of notice on title on 2 properties this month, and we have our Chief Building Official, Brian Kennett, with us if there are questions related to those files. Thank you.
Do the directors have any questions or comments? Yes, Director McMahon, please.
I am actually happy to move the recommendations on page 35.
Thank you. Excellent. Do we have a seconder? Yes, Director White. It's seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will. Oh, just a sec, please. Is there anybody from the public that would wish to speak to this? There is nobody in the gallery. I don't see anybody in the virtual gallery. So I think it's safe to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Thank you very much. Nice, easy. We're on to item 11, which is the CAO monthly report. CAO, please.
Thank you, Chair. This will not be surprising, but a big part of the workload this month was getting ready for today and trying to prepare for a August free of meetings, which saw a tremendous amount of effort by staff up until the very last minute, and a tremendous amount of work for all of you as directors, which you have felt the weight of that effort as well as we tried to gear all these reports for completion and consideration today. The other big priority has been and continues to be water, and it's great to see Church Road up and running, albeit with new system challenges and tweaks that we need to consider or continue to make, and Grey Creek and getting the extension for the continued use of the siphons in stage 4. A lot of work and energy has gone into the collaborative work that staff and the board are doing on strategic planning, and that's been, I think, really positive, and that work is well underway. And while it might seem odd that we're already working on these things right now, staff are also working with their teams on working through mandatory non-discretionary items to come forward for board consideration at budget 2024. So while we're barely past budget 2023 and we have all these other things going on, staff are working hard in the background on preparing for budget 2024. That's my update for today.
Thank you, CAO. You just wanted us to be not that happy, didn't you? We're now thinking about budget already. Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any further questions of our CAO? No? Okay, so we'll move on to item 11A, which is on our amended agenda. So I just got to pop that up. What the heck is it? 11A. Do we have that in? Okay.
I'll move it.
Okay, I see. Yeah, could you read it out for me, please?
Yeah, the motion is that we receive the resignation of Dave Habouche from the West Howe Sound Advisory Planning Commission Area F.
Thank you. And Director White? Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you. Director Stamford made that motion. Do we have a seconder? Yes. Director McMahon? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Let's vote on it. All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, thank you. That's carried. Not sure where it went. Okay, so now we're on to bylaws, which is item 12. It's late item 12, and it's pages 37A to I on our amended agenda, isn't it? Got it. Okay. So, I've caught up finally. Acting General Manager, Mr. Brown, please.
Thank you, Chair Lee. As some background, the SCRD Water Rates and Regulation Bylaw number 422 outlines water service charges and commercial operations that are charged the metered or volumetric rate. During a 2021 review of the SCRD's drought response plan, staff identified inconsistencies in the application of Bylaw 422 for farm properties for both property owners and bylaw enforcement. There was also some other recommendations on May 11th, 2023 that the board directed that staff look into proposed amendments to the bylaw. The board had asked that staff move to volumetric charge for Class 9 properties starting in Q1 2024. And I would just like to point out that no change is required to the bylaw because the existing bylaw permits this to happen. The other request of the board was that a new provision would be to put it into the bylaw that the SCRD staff have the authority to stop high-use business activities in stage 4 emergencies. And this has been done in the bylaw and is proposed in sections 19.8 and 19.9 in the bylaw before you. The board also asked to look into commercial farm definition. So the bylaw before you has an amendment that allows Class 9 properties to be considered commercial farm and allows them to be exempt from stage 1 to 3 regulations if they're growing food crops. So it's further narrowed what commercial farm was to food crops. There was a further amendment requested by the Sunshine Coast Farmers Institute to look at those that were not Class 9 properties but would be the equivalent of. And staff diligently were looking at this, and we've got some legal opinions on why it's problematic to insert into the bylaw. And with that, I'll turn that over to our corporate officer and our CAO to explain further.
So we'll start just by talking about the fact that what we're doing is amending a bylaw to implement a customized application process. So that was the recommendation that we were considering. How could we implement a customized application process? And essentially what the board is doing is they're delegating discretionary authority to staff to make a decision as to whether an applicant qualifies as a commercial farm. So this application process would be parallel to, but outside of, an existing provincial process that already exists to determine commercial farm status. And after legislative and legal review, it was determined that implementing this action would compel us to develop an administrative framework in order to manage that process. So for example, we do need to establish criteria, and we do need to set out that criteria within the bylaw, or that bylaw provision could be challenged as vague. We would need to develop a framework to map out processes to receive, review, monitor, enforce, and we would also have to establish an appeal process for when those decisions are challenged by applicants. And the work involved in developing such a framework is something that we would be unable to put in place before this summer. So what we're recommending is that the bylaw amendments as brought forward today be considered for readings and adopted as presented, and as they do provide some clarity around some of the issues the board wanted to address. If direction is provided to proceed with developing a framework for commercial farm status applications outside of the provincial process, we will need to bring forward a subsequent amendment to a future committee.
And just in addition to that, I guess the one other piece of context that might be valuable is in a legislative environment where we experience tremendous frustration as local governments about provincial downloading of responsibility, to the extent that many local governments all over BC are requesting meetings with ministers and the premier to discuss their concerns about downloading. This would be a case where we're voluntarily taking on the work that someone else does. And the one thing, the unintended consequence of all this, if we went down this path and followed all those steps to do a parallel authority, is our process might be a tiny bit less painful than the process that already exists, making us not the purveyor of the exception, but the easier path that becomes the rule. So while we might envision this only being a handful of potential applicants to our parallel process, it could be that when people find out about this, we become the preferred route or the preferred option, therefore taking on even additional, more work and more responsibility than intended.
Wow. Yes, Director McMahon, please.
I'm having a lot of difficulty with this because we were not trying to redefine commercial farm. We were trying to come up with a definition of food growing farm, which actually is something quite different because a commercial farm could be growing trees. So the intent of our motion at the previous meeting was to try and find a way to support local food production. And I'm not quite sure how we got here. I'm also not very happy with the definition of food crops in this bylaw. I'm not going to try and revise it on the fly, and I'm not going to get in the way of passing this because we need this bylaw passed right now, but I would like for staff to revisit the definition of food crops, because means plants grown on a commercial farm produced for consumption could be cannabis, that could be lots of things, and it's not getting at what we want to do, which is to promote food security on the Sunshine Coast. So once we've dealt with the bylaw, I'd like to circle around again and see how we can move this forward in an appropriate way. Thank you.
Yes, Director Bax, please.
Thank you. I think Director McMahon has stated a lot of the things that echo my feelings as well, is that we are looking for ways to promote food security within the Sunshine Coast Regional District, and that this is a beginning. And if we're creating a parallel system that is better for us than the province, then so be it. The system that we're working under right now seems to be it doesn't take into account that we are very dependent upon outside sources for our food, and if we don't change that, it could be detrimental to our community in the future. And so I think I can support this as it is, but yeah, it will need to be revisited and tweaked a bit.
Thank you. Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair. Trying to balance the, what we'd like to see out of the bylaw and not just generating extra work for staff. I wonder how directors feel about, instead of the word consumption, the word subsistence. Right? No? I'm seeing some head shakes, so yeah. I'd hate to, we obviously don't want to wordsmith it for sure. But we also don't want to be tying up a lot of staff time coming up with different definitions that may or may not meet what we as a board intend. So I'm happy to move the recommendation that's presented there, that we proceed with readings as presented. Thanks.
Thank you. Do I see a seconder? Yes, Director McMahon. And Director McMahon, would you like to comment again? I see your hand up still.
Yes, this bylaw also, it mainly deals with water restrictions, particularly stage 4, but in fact what we need is a broader discussion of how to support food growing on the Sunshine Coast. So, and if we don't ever go to stage 4 again, which we would all like to happen, then hopefully the some of the provisions in here will not have to come into effect. So I'm happy to vote for it right now, and let's revisit the topic in the fall.
I think that's pretty good advice, actually, seeing we're up against the wall right now. I think I see no more hands up, so I think I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. And Director Inkster, do you have a further comment?
Yeah, just a question to you then. Director McMahon mentioned a couple times to do additional work. Do we need a motion to that effect then?
Director McMahon?
Is there a way to refer this to our strategic planning session, or what's, I'm trying to figure out the best way forward here without creating unnecessary work.
Me too. So, Corporate Officer?
So I'm going to flag that this is already on our work plan, a complete rewrite for bylaw 422. So it's already on the work plan, and we are taking note of comments made. So I think it will come up in strategic planning. I don't think it needs to be formally referred. Should you raise it, we can discuss it.
Thank you. I don't think anybody's going to forget about it anyway, so. Okay. So if everybody's okay, then we'll move on to the actual reading of the bylaw. Let me just get down to the right. Okay, we're going to do the whole thing. So this is first reading of bylaw number 422.43, which is a bylaw to amend Sunshine Coast Regional District revised water rates and regulations. Bylaw number 442, 1995. Can I have a motion for first reading? And motion for second. Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. First reading passes. I've been advised because of this particular sensitivity of the bylaw, I need to do it one at a time. So, yeah. So this will be second reading of a bylaw to amend Sunshine Coast Regional District revised water rates and regulations, bylaw number 422, 1995. Can I have a motion for second reading, please? See it, Director Inkster, Director Bax. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes second reading. This is third reading for a bylaw to amend Sunshine Coast Regional District revised water rates and regulations, bylaw number 422, 1995. Motion for third reading, please. Director Toss, seconded Director White. All those in favor?
I can't second it, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That was me.
Director Gabius, thank you. Okay, well, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Thank you, Director White. This is for adoption of a bylaw to amend Sunshine Coast Regional District revised water rates and regulations, bylaw number 422, 1995. Can I have a motion, please? And Director Inkster, second Director Bax. All those in favor? That passes. Okay. So we move on to item 13, which is Annex J, pages 38 to 40. And I got to skip to that one, so back to the original board. Annex J. Yes, my APC. Do we introduce this first, corporate officer, or do we just go into questions?
We can introduce it.
Okay, yes. GM Hall then, please.
Thank you, Chair. So these bylaws were supported with a staff report brought to last week's Electoral Areas Services Committee and are tied to the official community plan renewal project identified through an early review of policy considerations. And this item, as well as the next one, there's one for each of our two zoning bylaws, are recommended for first reading only. Staff are taking the approach that getting these ideas out on the table for discussion allows time for community consultation. As was described in the staff report last week, we do have a Let's Talk page ready to go if the board decides to proceed with the reading. And the following first reading and taking into account comments from the community that are received during the consultation period, staff would bring forward a recommendation at the close of that period, typically a recommendation for a second reading, although there's always the option to recommend against proceeding. And the bylaws are very malleable at this stage, so they can be changed. That's part of the purpose of sounding them out with a first reading. And happy to answer questions. Thanks.
Yes, Director McMahon, please.
I believe there was a rough timeline outlined in that report as to how this would go forward and when we might get to second reading. Could you remind me?
Sorry, GM Hall, please.
Thanks, Chair. And I apologize, I don't have that staff report in front of me at the moment, but I do know that we have consultation activities planned into September, so it would not be until the fourth quarter that this would come back in front of a committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Bax?
Yeah, so the question on page 38, section 402.4, excluding the following areas from calculation of minimal parcel area. So this is these pieces that we're talking about, the dedicated part of the highway, the standing water, riparian areas, etc. Those are included in the calculation of parcel size for land use at the moment. And so are these exclusions going to make people's properties smaller than their in terms of what kind of land use they have? Are they going to make their properties smaller when they go to look at what they can do with their property? Is that my understanding of this?
GM Hall, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll speak in general terms because these are technical amendments, and I would want our planners to be able to speak to them. I anticipate that there will be questions about the implications of the proposed amendments as part of the consultation process, but there's three different amendments to each bylaw proposed here. Possibly only two for the second item you'll be considering. And each of them would have implications for property development. So yes, I guess the answer is yes. Other considerations include the interface with provincial legislation and requirements that are imposed on us. And so these are the kinds of issues that staff would look forward to discussing with the community and providing answers to questions as part of a consultation period. Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up with it.
Yes, Director Bax, follow-up.
I just wanted to thank staff for bringing this forward in this manner, that we get a first reading to bring it out into the public so that we do have a chance to discuss it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Director Gabius?
Thank you, Chair. This came to the Half Moon Bay APC and other APCs this week, and there was, in the case of the Area B APC, there were a lot of questions, and there was no planning staff there to answer the questions, which led to some confusion and frustration. And I'm wondering if the exercise was to gather those questions, or get feedback on the actual bylaw, and whether it can come back to the next APC with perhaps some staff help.
GM, please.
Thank you. Staff appreciate the feedback on the process and can follow up about bringing it back and or further resourcing that conversation. Thanks.
Yes, follow up.
And a suggestion, if I may, if there are more than one APCs who were in the same situation, they could maybe be combined to save staff time and have one presentation or one session that could maybe be like split into smaller group after, just for efficiency.
Yes, my APC was last night, and they had a similar comment. So, could you'll consider that, and then get back to us on how we might be able to do it just with one foul stroke instead of a whole bunch of independent ones?
Yes, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Bax, your hand's up. Would you?
Yeah, I just want to move that we move on to first reading of bylaw 337.123.
Yes, we will move on to, I'd like a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 337.123 of 2023. Can I have a motion to that effect? Director Bax, seconded by Director Gabius. Any further conversations? No? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? No? Then that one is done. And I believe that item 14 has been covered. Would I have that correct, GM? Yes. Okay. Is there any questions about item 14? Which, if not, then I will move on to first reading, a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 722.9 of 2023. Can I have a motion for first reading? Yes, Director Gabius, seconded Director Bax. Any further discussions? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. Now, we're on to item L, Annex L, pages 43, item 15. GM, would you just fill us in on that one, please?
Yes, Chair. So as a reminder to rural directors, this bylaw was read previously under bylaw 310. It took some time for the registration of a covenant. By the time the work that was required to advance the project was done, we have a new zoning bylaw, and so this is catching us up under the new zoning bylaw, and its approval of the bylaw is contingent on the issuance of a permit from MODI, and so it's just first, second, third readings today, and staff would bring it back once MODI has done their piece of the process. Thanks.
Because of the importance of this, I have to do it one at a time again. So we're on item 15. 722.2? Yes, 722.2. Yes, Director McMahon?
Yes, when we have a lot of bylaws like this, it would be awfully helpful if maybe on the agenda cover page, the address of the property could be included, because I can't remember which one is which at this point, and there's nothing, like the subdivision lot number doesn't mean anything to me, so thank you.
I don't know that we were expecting an answer to that.
You said second and third, there's only...
It's first, second, and third on that one.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Director yes, corporate officer.
Sorry, I did make a note to that effect. We can add it to the agenda cover page in brackets, similar to what we do with applications.
Thank you. Director Bax?
Yeah, pertaining to that question is that this is where is this? This pertains to a specific property, and I don't know where it is. I don't know what this is all about.
It's just housekeeping.
I know it's just housekeeping, but it says to move it from District F to District D. To me, that says it's coming from Kate's area to my area. That's, is it a houseboat?
No, it's
Staff can assist with a reference to last week's agenda. This is 562 Veterans Road. Thank you.
Veterans, okay. Not my circus.
it's, they weren't talking about area, actually. Okay, I shall carry on here. I'm going to be looking for a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 722.2 of 2023. Motion for first reading, Director McMahon, seconded by, someone put up their hand for me. Director Bax, thank you. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That passes. That's first reading. This is first motion for second reading for Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 722.2 of 2023. Can I have a motion? Director McMahon makes a motion, seconded by Director Gabius. Any further discussions? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Second reading. This is for third reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 722.2 of 2023. Can I have a motion for third reading? Director McMahon, seconded by Director Bax. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. So that's first, second, and third reading done. Thank you very much. Item 16, which is Annex M, pages 44, 45. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, yes, GM Hall, please.
Thank you, Chair. Staff recommend first and second readings of this bylaw, which relates to development of property at 268 Stella Maris Road in Area F. And a chair and alternate chair for the public hearing were recommended at last week's committee meeting, and that the nominations for those roles were passed earlier in this meeting as part of the EAS minute package. Thank you.
Thank you. Director McMahon, please.
Do we usually do the public hearing after the first reading or after the second reading? I'm just slightly confused.
After second.
Thank you. I think we'll just move into this then. So I'm looking for a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 722.6 of 2023. Motion for first reading. Director Stamford, seconded by Director Bax. Thank you. Any further discussions? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? No. That passes. I now am looking for a motion for second reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 722.6 of 2023. Motion for second reading, Director Stamford, seconded Director Bax. Any further discussions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. We're now on to item 17, which is Annex N. Financial Plan Amendments Bylaw. Our CFO, Ms. Perot, I believe. She left. She got tired of waiting for us? Corporate Officer?
I think you've seen this report a couple times now. So as we go through the year and make financial plan amendments through staff reports, the CFO will amalgamate all those and bring the financial plan forward in bylaw form so that we can formally move and adopt those amendments into the financial plan. So these are all financial plan amendments you've already passed through board decision, and we're just formalizing it through bylaw.
Okay. Do we need to accept the recommendations on page 46, though?
Yes, please.
We need a motion to accept the recommendations on 46. Director McMahon, seconded by Director Inkster. Any discussions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? No. That passes. And so that means we move on to the bylaw, which is on page 51. Everybody probably ahead of me, actually. Okay, so this is for, looking for a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 740.1 of 2023. Director Bax, seconded by Director McMahon. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Looking for a motion for second reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 740.1 of 2023. Director McMahon, Director Gabius, all those in favor? I'm going to get you next now. You get the important one. This is for third reading. It's whichever side of my screen I'm leaning on here. Third reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 740.1 of 2023. A motion for third reading. Director Inkster, seconded by Director Bax. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. And this is for adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 740.1 of 2023. A motion for adoption. Director Inkster, seconded by Director Bax. Any further discussions? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? It passes. Thank you for assisting me here. We've almost got our people. Oh, okay, we're on Annex O now. This is Community Recreation Facilities Roof Renewal Project Loan Authorization Bylaw. Oh, this is a big one. CFO, any comments about the Community Recreation Facilities Roof Renewal Project Loan Authorization Bylaw? No, straightforward? Okay. Anybody have any questions? Yes, Director White? Okay. Director White is moving adoption of Community Recreation Facilities Roof Renewal Project Loan Authorization Bylaw number 741 of 2023. Thank you. Seconded by Director Toth. Any further questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Passed. And we're on to item number 19 now. And I got to figure out what just happened to my computer. Annex P. We're looking for a motion to adopt the Half Moon Bay Fire Protection Services Rescue Number 1 Fire Apparatus Replacement Loan Project Loan Authorization Bylaw number 742-223. Director Bax, did you have a question, or were you making a motion? Okay, Director Gavious is making the motion, and Director Bax seconded it. Thank you. Any discussions? No. Call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That passed. We're on to director's reports. So the guy that always goes last is going to go first today. Well, you guys think about it. I attended my APC meeting. It was very interesting. They're actually looking for more work. So they're hoping we can give them new things to do, which I think is a discussion that we need to have at some point. They'd like to be used more for different things, which I thought was very interesting. Very seldom you get people looking for more work. So that was cool. And they were a little concerned about the need for staff support, but Director Gavious covered that off, which was very much appreciated. And the last thing is, there's going to be a wooden boat festival in Pender Harbor, August 4th, 5th, and 6th, and everybody should come and look at the wooden boats. So, that's my report. Thank you very much, and we'll start from Director White, please.
We finished our strategic plan just on Tuesday at the town of Gibson, so very, very happy. That took a lot of work. Yeah, it was unprecedented staff engagement in that process, so that's a really good step forward for the town. I think there'll be a lot of buy-in from the whole organization because of that. And lots of housing talk recently. We had the Minister of Housing, of course, visit recently and come help us break ground at Kiwanis, the seniors' housing. He toured him around supportive housing at School Road, and he and other officials there all observed how well run that facility is and how beautiful it is, and they're very impressed by all the work that's been done by the community and by the people there, the residents, I think, first and foremost, and also the housing provider, Rain City, on really making that a facility that fits in well with the community and the neighborhood. And then Lisa Helps, who's a housing advisor and responsible for developing a new program named BC Builds in the Premier's office, just visited Gibson's yesterday, and we talked about a couple of projects and potential projects that could and provincial or potential provincial funding opportunities too. So that's my report for today. I'll keep it at that.
Thank you very much. It's amazing how much housing you're getting done in your area. I think it's in support of all of us, and we appreciate it. So thank you. Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair. Not a whole lot to report today. Quite looking forward to this August break. We've got one last council meeting next week, which is going to include our staff looking for approval for an application to the Housing Accelerator Fund. So looking forward to sharing the details of that next week. And we had a presentation yesterday from the Ministry of Environment regarding the groundwater monitoring well program that they have. So the Ministry of Environment actually has 2 groundwater wells in Mission Point Park, and we approved a couple of wells in Whispering Firs a couple of years ago. And so they're working on developing a network of groundwater monitoring stations, and that allows them over the long term to be able to monitor the health of groundwater. They mentioned that they basically need about 10 years of statistics before they can start to model and make any sort of assessments of where things are headed with groundwater. Well worth the watch for those who weren't there, including myself. I was traveling, so I watched it on YouTube. But it's well worth the watch. We also had a rezoning application come to committee for discussion looking at 89 apartment units that are going to be built at the corner of Wharf and Seashelt Inlet Road across 4 buildings if they get approved. So yeah, we've got a ton of apartment units in the queue at the moment, various stages of approval, and most of those at this point are rental. So a lot of things, yeah, a lot of things coming, a lot of things already moving. So that's my report for today. Thanks.
Could you repeat where we could see that on your YouTube?
Yeah, if you look up on our YouTube channel, just Seashelt Government, you'll get the district of Seashelt, and it was the committee of the whole for July 26th. And it was the first presentation.
Yes.
So.
Thank you. Excellent. Director Bax, please.
Yeah, I attended my APC's meeting this month. They need a little bit of guidance from staff as to what's expected of them from the agenda that they received in their last meeting. They're struggling a little bit as to what it is the staff is asking them to go over, whether it's the OCP renewal, the part of the PEP 2 project, the using the baseline growth, regional growth report as a lens for them. Besides that, not a lot to report. I haven't done I've been in the community talking with people. The Mandela was finished at the Roberts Creek Pier. That was a wonderful thing. And coming up next month, we're going to have Creek Days later in August, which is our big annual summer festival. And I look forward to being there and seeing everybody. But besides that, I do look forward to just relaxing a little bit in August. Thank you.
I think we're all looking forward to that one, I'll tell you. Yeah. Director Gabius, please.
Thank you, Chair. A few things to report on. So my APC meeting, which happened a couple of nights ago, which was great. Amazing group. But yes, again, same as Director Bax and Director Lee, need a little bit of guidance, some context, and maybe a staff person to help them through it. Would be awesome. They had some great feedback, and I really appreciate their dedication. And I went to the Roberts Creek Farmers Market yesterday. SCRD staff was there to engage the community on the new Half Moon Bay Community Hall. And I'm happy to report that those nice boards that have more details about the project are on the Let's Talk page. So please, everybody, go check them out. And I encourage everybody to put some feedback on the Let's Talk page too. That's a great way to have your voice heard. You can also email directors about that. Half Moon Bay Fair was a great success. It was really amazing. Community Association always delivering. And then this tomorrow is Lazy Days at Cooper's Green, and Director Bax will be playing. So everybody come and hang out.
Where's that? Where's the venue?
Cooper's Green Park.
Cooper's Green. Thank you.
Outside.
Yes. Director McMahon, please.
I've been going to a lot of meetings, and many of them have been with the people in this room. And much as I like you, I am looking forward to seeing a lot less of you in August. There are no special exciting events in Elphinstone because every day is special in Elphinstone. We have roadside vegetable stands, lots of them. They're wonderful. You can look them up on my website. We have cideries, and quite a few people are holding yard concerts with live music, which is quiet live music, not like really amplified loud music. So I'm looking forward to an enjoyable and relaxing August. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. Let's see, Director Paul, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. For me, it's just been a lot of community events and stuff. Like we've had Tribal Journeys go through the territory, and they went through a big ceremony to land in the territory, and then shared a dinner. It ended up going quite late. They were a bit, I think they faced headwinds and stuff, whatever, so they're a bit delayed. But it was great to see those ceremonies and stuff going on, and just doing a lot of, like here, strategic planning and stuff. So no break in August, really. So that's it for me.
Just work, eh? Just work. Yes, Director Stamford, please.
Thank you. Our big exciting day of the year for the islands was last Saturday, Bin Day. And that's where we get to collect all our garbage. And 6 bins are brought over by the Regional District Waste Department. And they were more than full, had been crushed down several times by 2 o'clock. And the very happy, well-organized staff member, I have forgotten his name, but he stuck with us and he said, yes, we definitely need more bins. There's a number of events happening over August. We've got the fishing derby at Gambier Harbor coming up. We've got a fair coming up in Gambier. I'll be going to Eastbourne on Saturday for the Community Association AGM. And then I'm getting some reports from Hopkins Beach about dogs and lack of garbage cans and places to put dog do. And I understand with local government, you just don't talk dogs, but I'm hoping to get some creative solutions on how to support the community, given that Hopkins Beach is so very popular, and with the dock not being available right now, there's even more people on the beach with their dogs. I'll just concur with the other rural directors that my APC meeting on Tuesday was a little confused about what was being asked of them. There was either complete crickets or, because we have experienced planners on our APC, they delve deep with a lot of planner acronyms that we have to stop and translate on the fly. So yes, any kind of context or group APC presentations with which they can gather background information would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think that completes the open portion of our meeting, and be looking for a motion to move in camera and that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91A, C, F, G, I, J, K, and 2B of the community charter. Can I have a motion? Yes, Director Toss, seconded by Director McMahon. All those in favor? Any opposed? We will be moving in camera. And before we do that, we have no guests present in the boardroom, but if any of the virtual attendees would like to ask questions, if they could put their hand up and we would move them in so they can ask questions. Yeah, we must have put them to sleep. No questions. Oh, yes. Councillor Kroll, please.
Thank you, Director Lee. I just wanted to thank everyone for their support with the Accessibility Committee. We've had a couple of meetings here in Gibsons, and I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to get together and work for many in our community who are facing challenges. So I just wanted to thank you for your support, and I look forward to working with you.
We enjoy working with you, so thank you. Excellent. Okay. So I think that looks after that then. So let's take a 10-minute break so we can read through any of the new stuff, right? Would 10 minutes be okay, or would you? We're now back to the regular scheduled board meeting of July 27th. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Yes, Director Toss, seconded Director Stamford. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.